In this video, we will go over the solution for the second submitted assignment in underlinear programming, and that is dealing with the minimization. That is, what is the minimum dollar investment for stock ABC and for stock XYZ? The minimum investment. So here we're dealing with the minimization, not maximization. And you were given some constraints. You as the, we'll say, investment advisor is advising a client, and the client comes to you looking at ABC and XYZ. And the client has some, you might say, specific criteria. Short term, $1,500. Long term, $3,500. And a dividend of $500. So from these constraints, you analyze these two stocks, and you come up with some of those criterion factors that were given in your table. So what I want to do now is, of course, I want to take that information, I want to take the data, and we just want to put it into a linear programming feature from our QM and to see how it's done. Once again, I'm already in linear programming. I'm coming up with new. I have my drop-down menu. In this particular case, I have three constraints: short-term, long-term, and dividends. I still am dealing with two variables, stock ABC and stock XYZ. My objective function, well, is minimization, and I should be good to go. And once again, as I indicated in the previous video, I always like to identify my variables. In this case, X1 would be stock ABC, stock XYZ, its minimization. Let's just identify our constraints. We'll say short term, long term, or just long term. Let me just put long. And then for the third constraint, my dividends. So let's look at this minimization. As I pointed out, is that given the criteria, given those constraints, right? I want to short term make $1,500, long term $3,500, and my dividends of $500. With that in mind, what is the minimum dollar investment that I have to make? The minimum. So in this particular case, I am simply going to put 1 and 1 because I don't know. If you think back on the Coates slacks, maximization, we were told what my profit for each coat sold and for each slack sold. In this particular case, on the investment portfolio side, I want to make the minimum amount. So I don't know what I'm going to invest in ABC, and I don't know what I'm going to invest in XYZ, but I want to invest the minimum. So that's why for minimization here, I put 1, or like 1x and 1y. For the short term, right, you were given 9% growth, and for XYZ you were given 15% and $1,500. For long term, you were given 1.5 or 150% for ABC and 1.75 for XYZ, or 175%, and that had to be $3,500. So what we're saying here is that the long term, I am looking for an appreciation of ABC and XYZ to give me $3,500. For the dividends, as I pointed out, we always want to put it in decimal format. So 0.05 would be the dividend rate. and 0.06 for XYZ, and as indicated, I got to get $500. And once again, when we're looking at minimization, it's always going to be greater than. So I think we can put everything in, minimization, right? Okay, and to solve it, this is what we come up with. The optimal output solution is I'm going to, what? $0 in ABC, and I'm going to put $10,000 in XYZ. So that is my minimum investment required, given that I want my short term $1,500, I want my long term to be $3,500, and I want my dividends to be $500. So as you can see, I'm only going to invest in XYZ $10,000. And if we look at our corner point solution, well, that is our corner point solution. So once again, the optimal output solution, nothing in ABC, 10,000 in XYZ, and of course my total would be $10,000 as such. So that is the solution for how much should I invest in a portfolio of 2 stocks, which of course, as we just pointed out, I'm only going to invest $10,000 in XYZ.